cool cars that get you all the ladies for only $5,000 is a freaking search term that every man has searched for at least once in his life. And luckily for you guys, I've done that quite a bit and found the best of the best and then threw them all into one collective list to make your lives a little bit easier. What's going on, boys? That's what we're doing today, baby. We're going to give you 10 with one honorable mention to 11 really fun little sports cars for less than $5,000. This is part 5 to a multi-part series that we got going on the channel right now, where I give you 10 cars from 1K, 2K, 3K, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then 15, then 20, then 25, 50, then $100,000. And in every single video is going to be 10 different cars. So if you watch the first 10, you get a total of 110 cars, because there's always going to be one honorable mention too. And if you watch all of them up to 100K, you can get 155 different cars for under $100,000. So without further ado, let's get right into today's video with the number 10 spot. So, coming in at number 10 is an amazing little sports car that's literally never going to stop being produced, and it is the Chevy Corvette C3. Yes, it is possible to find one of the world's most legendary freaking sports cars out there for under $5,000 still, but you will be getting the less desirable model, to say the least. It comes with a 5.7 liter V8 that makes all kinds of different horsepower depending on what year you go with, but the good news is that almost all of them have at least 200 horsepower, and every single one of them are going to be rear-wheel drive, which is a very good combination for under $5,000, baby. You get rear-wheel drive, at least 200 horsepower, and a freaking V8 Corvette that has pop-up headlights. Come on. Plus, there were tons of these cars built, so parts are not that hard to find, and in my opinion, they look pretty damn good, bro. Like, a lot of people say, oh, the C3 Corvette, I don't like it. I do. I think it looks sick. The next car is a car that literally everybody in freaking the whole Western world wants nowadays. It is the wonderful Mazda Miata NA or NB. We're gonna mention both of them. Both are pretty much exactly the same car. They came with a 1.8 liter inline 4 making 135 horsepower, and they were rear wheel drive. But don't get too happy, because they aren't actually the best cars to drift on. They have what's called a perfect 50-50 weight distribution, which is meant to keep the car planted as much as possible, which obviously can become a problem when drifting, since you want to, you know, slide it out. But it's good news for people that like cornering and going fast around corners, because this thing is a freaking go-kart. Everyone always says that these things feel just like they're planted to the ground and they're glued on the ground. I think that's just adorable. But no, I don't think that the Miata is the best choice for under $5,000 anymore. Okay, they're getting a little bit overpriced, so sue me. They're still a great choice, just not number 1 anymore. Next up is a car that's actually a horrible choice for a first car, but pretty fun for anybody else, and it is the Audi S4 B5. This is the only S4 besides maybe the S6 that you can find under $5,000, and it honestly makes sense. It comes with an amazing 2.7 liter twin turbocharged V6 that makes a very nice 250 horsepower, and it was all-wheel drive, but not just any all-wheel drive. It is the legendary Quattro all-wheel drive system, baby. It's made by Audi. It's the same one that they put in the freaking Sport Quattro that was really good at Group B rally racing. But yes, I did say that this car is a bad choice for a first car, and I stand by that, and that's because they are quite unreliable. This is for the guy who wants a little bit of a project car, because once you start to modify this thing, it can make some incredible power, but it'll also just like to blow up in your face all the time. So be careful. If you decide to pick this up as your first car, make sure it has pretty low miles and make sure you don't modify it too much. Next up is a freaking Chrysler 300C. The C in that stands for Chrysler as well. First generation. This car is a very acquired taste, okay? Before Dodge was putting like Hellcat motors and absolutely everything, they were making some sleepers, all right? This is one of them. It came with a nice 3.5 liter V6 that made 250 horsepower, and it was rear wheel drive, but unfortunately, in true Dodge fashion, this thing was heavy as hell. It's a freaking whale on land, so it really isn't that quick. But they did make an SRT model of the 300C, which is incredibly quick and not that much more expensive than just the base model. So if you want to save a little bit more cheddar, you could buy that car. And plus, this car is luxurious as all hell too. It's not just meant to be fast. It's pretty much the poor man's Rolls Royce. If you want to ride in comfort while still having pretty decent horsepower and a car that can look just absolutely incredible and still look new today, then go with this car. It's pretty good. Next is a very, very, very underrated car. It is the Honda Civic SI 8th generation. The 8th gen gets I don't know what I'm saying, gets a lot of hate for being an ugly Civic, but I disagree fully. Okay, I think it looks great. Plus, it comes with a 2-liter inline-4 making 197 horsepower, and it was front-wheel drive, which, depending on what you want, can go either way. You can either daily drive this car and enjoy the nice gas mileage, incredibly cheap repairs, and a very reliable engine, or you can dump some money into that engine and make some absolutely just bonkers power for absolutely dirt cheap. You could spend like $2 on it and get a freaking whole turbo kit. That, my friends, is the beauty of Honda. They can be whatever in the world that you want it to be, and I was gonna say the budget's your limit, but it ain't even the limit, because as long as you work a minimum wage job, you should be able to afford to build a Honda. They're dirt cheap to build. And like I said, make up your own mind on the looks, because I think it looks great compared to like the 7th or 9th generation Civics. So it's all up to you, man. Don't listen to everybody on the internet. The next car is a little bit of an oddball. It's like me when I go to the gym, but it still deserves love, like me when I go to the gym. And it is the freaking Suzuki Samurai. With a name like that, you probably think that you need to be like a ninja to drive this thing, and it's going to be some incredibly quick little sports car that just carves at corners. But Suzuki had a little bit of a different approach in mind, to say the least. It came with an absolutely huge 1.3-liter inline-4 that makes just an insane Bugatti gapping 66 horsepower, and it was 4x4, of course, because this thing is an off-road monster. Okay, it scares the people, the Sahara. All right, every lion scared of it. Now, obviously, the engine is laughably bad, but people do swap it with Honda motors all the time, and they turn them into these little drag cars, which is pretty hilarious. But dude, the Samurai is super cool. Even if you don't swap the motor and you do only have a 66 horsepower, incredibly slow car, I don't understand why more people don't like them. You pretty much have a Jeep that costs less money. And it's like, you're not buying a Jeep to go fast, so what's the point in having a bunch of horsepower? The next little rocket onto my list, rocketing, is incredibly unreliable, but very cool. It's kind of like the Audi S4, and it is the wonderful Mazda RX-7 FC 3S. Now, obviously, I wouldn't recommend grabbing this car as your first car, but just because it's very unreliable and incredibly hard to do any engine work on, since it is a rotary, and a lot of people don't know how to work on rotaries. But if you're looking for a little bit of a project car or a drift car, dude, this thing is just the perfect choice, okay? It comes with a 1.3-liter 2-rotor rotary engine that makes a nice 160 horsepower to the rear wheels, and it has pop-up headlights. Just want to put it out there. Now, these cars do kind of have some hype behind them, so it will be very hard to find like a coupe manual one, which is obviously the one that you're going to want. But if you don't mind rocking a convertible or doing a manual swap on an automatic coupe, then it absolutely can be found, man. All right, I found a couple of them. Plus, like I said before, these things are some sick little drift cars if you do decide to swap the motor, because even though that motor makes that wonderful rotary noise, it's not the most reliable. Bronze medal, 3rd place for this list. It goes to another Japanese little drift missile, the Lexus SC400. Literally one of the most reliable cars ever built, but people always just completely forget that it exists. It comes with a 4-liter V8, making a pretty nice 270 horsepower, once again, to the rear wheels. And in my opinion, the styling is just classic. It looks so freaking good, okay? Unlike the FC that we just talked about, I do think this is a great choice for a daily driver, but the only problem is it's not that good on gas, since it is a pretty big V8 that was built in the 90s. So I don't know about that. Personally, me, I don't care. You have a freaking Lexus SC400. These cars sold for like $90,000 when they were made, and now you can buy them for under $5,000. You are the coolest kid in town. I wouldn't worry about my gas mileage. Who cares? Just push the car. You'd still be super cool if you were pushing it around. Silver medal time, 2nd place. We are freaking rocketing through this list today, boys. We're going sicko mode. And this might surprise you a little bit, but I hope it doesn't. It is the BMW 325i E30. Yes, that's right, buddy. This incredibly overrated little BMW can still be found under $5,000, and to me, it is also still a good choice. It comes with a 2.5-liter inline-6 that makes 170 horsepower, and it was rear-wheel drive. And while this car is very good, especially for its time, I don't think it's the best choice for like a race car. You're pretty much buying this car just because it looks really cool, and I don't care what anybody says. This thing looks really cool, but just don't expect to like make some insane horsepower out of this car and turn it into just like an absolute Hellcat gapping machine. They're just a little bit too old for that. They don't have a huge engine bay, so you can't really swap anything massive into them. They can be built up a little bit, and they actually do make some pretty decent drift cars out there because you don't need that much horsepower when drifting. But the main thing you'll see when you get into the E30 community is a lot of people just build them to make them look good because they look just that good, and they're pretty reliable too. So if you got one that's got enough low miles on it and you just want to make it look good and daily drive it, that's a good choice. Now it is time for the little honorable mention, and it goes to the freaking Mini Cooper S. This underrated tuning legend. Yes, I called it a legend, buddy. What are you going to do about it? It comes with a 1.8 liter supercharged inline 4 that makes 214 horsepower, and it was front wheel drive. And they're actually very cheap for what they are. You can buy these things for like $2 and a kiss on the lips. You can also make this thing into like a Honda Civic type tuner build, but they cost much less than a nice Honda Civic since there isn't that much hype for it. It's kind of the best of both worlds. However, when you go to build the car, it costs a little bit more than a Honda Civic, so pick your poison. It's kind of confusing, I know, but I hope you understood what I meant. First place though, it is the best of all the worlds. It is the Acura RSX Type S. This thing is so cool to me, man. I'm not gonna lie, it's probably my favorite Honda ever. Not really, maybe. It comes with a 2.4 liter inline 4 making 201 horsepower, and it was front wheel drive, and that engine is actually the K24, which is very good for building some power. If you ever heard the term K-swap, well, they're talking about putting this motor into something else because of how great it is to tune. A lot of people actually K-swap RX-7s. A lot of people put a lot of K-series motors into the RX-7s because they're just that good. But even if you don't want to tune it and you just want to turn it into a reliable, cool looking daily driver that you can pick up all the baddies in, well, guess what, buddy? It's a Honda. You can absolutely do that. All you have to do is slap some coilovers, some nice cheap wheels on it. Probably shouldn't do that, but whatever. Do it anyway, and you're golden. You're golden. Put a spoiler on it too, because for some reason these RSXs look so good with a spoiler. Like, I don't like spoilers 9 times out of 10. A little wings are good, but not like spoilers. But this RX-7s, they go hard with a spoiler. But like I said, I think this is one of the best looking Hondas of all time to me. It's still a Honda, so it's still reliable. And if you ever want to tune it, it's one of, if not the best Honda to tune anyway. So it's just the best of all worlds, man. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Today was part 5 of the multi-part series that we got going on. I'm super excited. I love doing this series, and I can't hold in my excitement. The fact that like I can do this for a living now, it just blows me away. So thank you guys so much. I know I've said it probably the past 3 videos in a row now. I'm gonna keep saying it until the day I die. You guys mean the world to me. You guys do nothing but help me out, and it's awesome. So thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. I love you. I love you. All right, tomorrow is probably gonna be, I don't know what tomorrow's. I'm gonna probably try to make a tier list video. I kind of want to try those out. Want to see if I can do them. I hope it goes good, but if not, it might be a good, bad, and ugly. It might be another top 10. Who knows? Who knows what it will be? But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Das Vidania. Have a nice night.